What's up, everybody? We're back here again at the Bellagio playing some 510, sometimes with the $20 straddle on. One of the first hands of the night, I wake up with Pocket Kings, the Cowboys.
Did you see them yesterday?
In middle position. There is no straddle on for this hand, so I do open up to $30. Button actually decides to put in a flat, and Big Blind puts in the flat as well. So we're going to be going three ways to a flop of Queen Ace 6. What a horrible flop for the Cowboys. Are you kidding me? But you know what they say about kings. They are ace magnets, and it feels like when you have pocket kings, there's almost always an ace on the flop. With that being said, Big Blind does actually put in a check. I decide to check this time around. And luckily, Button actually does put in the check as well. So we're actually still going to be going three ways to a turn, and it comes the 4 of spades. Relative break doesn't have really much to do with the board, but I really like the fact that it did check around with there being an ace on the flop. Let's hope that nobody actually does have one. There's only 3 aces left in the deck, right? Big Blind does once again put in a check, and this time I put out a small wager here. I just make it $30 to go. Button comes along with the call, and Big Blind actually does fold. So we're going to be going heads up to the river, and it comes the 6 of clubs, and now there is roughly $150 or so in the middle. And I decide, do I want to bet here, or am I going to check and then have to call a bet? So I decide, you know what, I'm just going to put out a small wager here again, try to pot control a little bit out of position, and I decide to put out a bet of $50, and my opponent does pretty much immediately flick in the call. I turn over pocket kings, hoping that they just don't have an ace, and unfortunately they do turn over ace 8 offsuit. I don't know why they have ace 8 offsuit. It's not even suited. You gotta be kidding me. But if my opponent is flat in hands like that on the button, I have to make a mental note of that, because now I can more so determine what their range is going to be in the future while playing at this table. Are pocket kings really ace madness, or am I just being a paranoid poker player? Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. And second hand of the night, we wake up with another pocket pair. Is it going to turn into another pocket pair city? We'll see. We have pocket 10s on the button. No straddle is on. It does fold all the way around to us, so we do open up 3x of the big blind. We make it $30 to go. Small blind actually to my left puts in the 3 bets. They make it $100 to go. Big blind does fold, and here with pocket 10s, I do look to my left and I ask them for a count, and I do realize they are actually $850 effective. I did think they had a little bit less behind them, but with being 85 big blinds effective, this time around, not going to be putting in a 4 bet and trying to get it in. We're just going to be putting in the call. So we're going to be going heads up to a flop of 5 4 jack, 2 clubs. Do have the 10 of clubs in my hand here, and my opponent being a pre-flop aggressor, they're not slowing down here. As usual, we're going to see a C bet here a lot, and they do just that. They put out a C bet and they make it $80 to go. I know there is a jack on board, and obviously I'm losing to any jack X that they're 3 betting, but we're not going to be going anywhere yet. We're going to be putting in a call, and we're going to go to the turn, and it comes the ace of hearts. That is possibly the worst turn I can ever see. If my opponent was just C betting their ace queen or ace king, etc., now they just turned an ace, so we're not looking too good here. And with that being said, my opponent does not slow down. They know this card is really good. They're preparing a double barrel, and they make it $210 to go, and there's really nothing I can do here. Having third pair at this point, I'm gonna just have to lay down my cards, so I do just that. I fold, and when I do fold, my opponent turns over the bluff, and they show that they had 10-9 of diamonds. I mean, at this point, if they were going to bet the turn like that, that means they were going to be jamming the river a lot, but maybe they just give up. But there's really nothing I can do there once again with only having third pair. Oh baby, it definitely is pocket pair city. I look down and I see my favorite hand in poker, pocket queens. The ladies love to see it. I'll get this hand in no matter what happens. We love the ladies. And once again, we are actually here on the button with our pocket pair, and it does fold all the way around to me. No straddle on, so we do open up to $30. This time, same opponent that did just bluff me an orbit ago with the 10-9 of diamonds. They are actually just going to be putting in a call and no 3-bet here this time. And unfortunately, big blind does fold. So we're actually just going to be going heads up to a flop of 9 queen 3. Oh my gosh, what's better than 2 ladies? 3 ladies, of course. We flop top set. We are hoping that we can get some money back from that bluff this opponent made against us earlier. And he does put in the check. And of course, we're going to be c-betting here with our set. I do just put out a small wager. I make it $20 to go. And my opponent does come along. He does put in the call. So we're going to go to the turn and it comes a rubber ducky, 2 of clubs, a relative brick, or maybe they can have a set of 2s. I mean, that would be beautiful if they did somehow float pocket 2s here. Let's hope we can still keep reeling them in. And surprisingly, on the turn that's the 2, my opponent decides to donk and they start doing the betting themselves. What a time to be alive. They just put out a bet of $40 into the middle. And I'm like, well, I mean, I have top set. Kind of a dangerous board at this point with 2 flush draws out there. We're definitely not just going to be calling here in position. We got to make some money off of those draws, or maybe even they have a set already, or maybe they even have the 4th queen in the deck. Who knows? But definitely because it is, we're definitely going to be raising in position. So I think about my sizing for a little bit, and I said, well, I do want to go a little bit more than 3x, so I make it 3.5x, raising it up to $140. Unfortunately, after a couple of seconds, my opponent does lay it down. That is so annoying to have your opponent donk and lead into you, and they just actually didn't have a hand to continue with. So I don't know what were they donking for. I'm kind of confused here. But hey, we do take down a pot, but we're not too happy about it. And next hand, the pocket pairs finally start to show a little bit. We wake up with only 8-4 of diamonds. Yes, 8-4 suited in big blind with no straddle on. And it does fold all the way to hijack, and they're going to be opening up to $30. Folds around to button, and they're going to be putting in the call. And then I think about it. I'm like, this is a tad bit loose, but I'm like, F it. Let's play some poker. Let's flick it in the middle. Let's see what we can do here with the 8-4 suited. So I do put in the call. So we're going to be going 3 ways to a flop of 7 Jack 5 rainbow. And with 8-4 suited here is looking pretty decent. I mean, we do just have a gutter. There's 1 diamond in the board, so we could go backdoor to a flush. But the real good thing is if an 6 comes on the turn, obviously we are losing to 8-9. But, I mean, we'll have the second nut straight. Can't complain with that. Hopefully we can turn a 6 and at least get there. And, of course, not being a pre-flop aggressor here, I do put in a check. Even though hijack was a pre-flop aggressor, they decide to put in a check this time. And button actually puts out a bet of $40. And if you somehow can remember this hand from another video, this is the same person I played against last time at the Bellagio, where they were bluffing with the 8-5 suited into my pocket aces. So I do have some history with this player. And with that being said, not going to go anywhere with this roughly 50% pot size bet. We're going to be putting in a call, and hijack actually folds. I mean, this is beautiful. Now we are heads up. Maybe if I don't hit my hand, maybe I can bluff and take it down. It is a lot easier in poker to win a pot heads up than it is to win it multi-way. And with that being said, after I put in a call, we do go to a turn and it comes a rubber ducky, 2 of diamonds. So now we are looking pretty good here. We do have a gutter to what we would believe is the nuts, but it's going to be the second nut straight. And we do have an 8 high flush draw. I mean, what's the chances of losing with an 8 high flush draw? I mean, how many flush draws beat that? A lot, unfortunately, but let's just hope they don't have it. And I put in the check, and my opponent is loading up the clip here. They're grabbing a decent amount of chips, and they decide to put out a really big bet here, $200. This is the exact same line that they took in the last video. They stabbed in position on the button when they had it, and then they put out a pot size bet on the turn. And I think about this for a really long time, ladies and gentlemen. I think about this, and I'm so happy that I'm able to remember a hand that previously happened, because they took this exact same line with a bluff. So I go into the tank, and I'm like, this would be a pretty good time to get a little bit a bit aggressive. So y'all know what we're doing. We're going for it. We're putting in the check Rizzle, yes, with the gutter and a flush draw. We make it $650 to go. Almost a 3.5x check Rizzle, and my opponent goes into the tank. I actually was expecting them to just fold right away because I've seen this line before, but they actually go into the tank for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It gets to the point that we are almost at 4 minutes as I'm looking down, and I'm like, I can't even take this anymore. So I actually break character. I take my headphones off, and I just tell them and let them know, look, I mean, at this point, you can do whatever you want because me looking down is not going to make a difference at this point. And this is what I usually do in poker when I'm at the table, whether I'm bluffing or whether I have it. I mean, at this point, there is nothing that is going to change their decision by me continuing to look down. I'm like, what's the point? I'm not going to do this for another 5 minutes. And I usually don't like calling clock on opponents, especially in cash game and tournaments. I've done it once ever. Cash games, I've really never called the clock on somebody, so I wasn't going to do that to somebody here. And yeah, at that point, you know, we start laughing and we start chopping it up and talking a little bit. And after 30 to 45 seconds, my opponent actually does lay it down. And they asked me what I had, and I said, well, can't tell you. You know, if you want to know, you got to subscribe and check out the vlog later. That's just how it works. I'm never just gonna give free information. Once in a while I do, but hey, I am just really happy that I actually managed to get the fold. I take it down with this massive check Rizzle, because God knows what I would have had to do on the river if it was a blank, or maybe I just hit the straight. Who knows? But what a great result. Sometimes you got to be prepared to put in a really strong check Rizzle on the turn. And what do you think about my line there? Do you like it? If you do, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't, hey, let me know why in the comments below, please. And for the next hand, we're going to wake up with Ace Deucey, Never Lucy. Yes, how can you lose with this hand? It's not possible. We have it on a button, and it does fold all the way around to us. And we do open up to $30. And small blind is actually going to put it in a 3-bet. They make it a little bit massive here. They make it $120 to go. Big blind does fold, and like I said, we have Ace Deucey, Never Lucy. So that means we're not going anywhere yet, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be putting in the call. So we're going to be going heads up to a flop of Deuce 6-9 in his 3-bet pot. We have the rubber ducky in our hand, and the rubber ducky's on the board. So we have a pair of twos. At least we are ahead to all of their just air and overcards like Ace Queen, Ace Jack, etc. So we are looking pretty good here. And with that being said, as expected on this board, my opponent is probably going to be c-betting a lot. And they put out a bet of $120, roughly almost 50% of the pot. And I know I only do have third pair here, but I have a pair in position. We get to decide the action on the turn and the river. So I'm not going to be going anywhere yet. We're here to play. I'm going to be flicking in the call. So we'll be going to a turn, and it comes the King of Spades. That is not a card I wanted to see. A really big overcard. Now I have fourth pair. I mean, if any card came, it would have been fourth pair. But the point is that a king is just not really the best card to see, as my opponent's going to have a lot of overcards here. And luckily on the turn, my opponent actually does put in a check. And I think about it for a little bit here, and I'm like, well, I mean, I have bottom pair here. No really point in stabbing. I mean, if they have a hand that's beating me, it's still going to be beating me on the river. Then I'm going to have to start turning my hand into a bluff. I just don't want to go down that path. We're just going to chill. We get to decide the action on the river as well. So let's decide the action on the turn, and let's just put in that check. And after that, we go to the river, and it comes the 7 of diamonds. Not the craziest card on the river. I mean, 10-8 just got there, if that is in my opponent 3-betting range. At these stakes, I don't see people really 3-betting 10-8 suited that much in small blind. So we're probably going to be pretty good. I don't think that they would have just rivered the nuts there like that. And at least it was actually a brick. For the spades did not actually hit there on the river. There was a flush draw on the turn. But yeah, my opponent does check, and as soon as they check, I'm like, F it, I'm taking this to showdown. Hopefully they just have nothing. So I do immediately check back, and my opponent does show ace-8 suited. So they did have an ace with a bigger kicker, as I said they might have had, and my rubber ducky takes it down. Like I just said, ace deucey, never Lucy. And for the next hand tonight, we're gonna wake up with 6-4 of diamonds and cut off. A little bit loose here by me opening, but I'm here to play. I love playing some cards, so I am going to be opening this time around. I make it $30 to go, and it does fold to big blind, and they're going to be putting in the call. So we'll actually be going heads up to a flop of 5, 7, 9, 2 hearts. I mean, we just pretty much missed everything. There's no diamonds on the board. I mean, an 8 can come for a straight. That's literally about it at this point. So yeah, really rough flop for me. And with that being said, my opponent big blind does put in a check. And as I said before, I don't have much going on. So this time around, I'm just going to be checking back, see if I can turn maybe some sort of pair or turn a straight. So I do put in a check. So we're going to be going to a turn, and it comes the 4 of hearts. I kind of got what I wanted, I guess. I mean, I did say I wanted to turn a pair. I didn't ask for it to be a flush pair, but whatever. At least we do have a pair. At least we did turn something. And my opponent decides to turn up their aggression a little bit. They don't want to check. They put out a bet of $40, and having a pair here, not going to just be folding. I know it is literally bottom pair. It's 4th pair on the board, but my opponent can still have a hand that's not made, like some single heart cards in a hand, like the 10 of hearts, the jack of hearts, queen of hearts, etc., that maybe they do want to start betting here. So I'm not going to be going anywhere yet. I am going to put them to the test. We're going to put in the call, and we go to the river, and it comes the 8 of clubs. We do river a straight. I mean, it looks pretty good here. 8 of clubs, not going to complain. At least it wasn't the 8 of hearts. And with that coming on the river, my opponent does actually continue to bet in. They actually do put out a bet of $50, and I go into the tank for a little bit, not too long, like 20-30 seconds. I was like, you know what, I'm preparing to raise here. I am going to be raising. I could just call up, and I'm like, yo, there's so many times I run these bluffs and all of that stuff, and everybody sees it. So yeah, let me actually try to get some extra chips in. I do raise it. I make it $160, and my opponent snap calls, and I'm like, yo, I gotta be good here, or maybe we're just chopping. So I turn over my 6-4 suited for the straight, and they turn over Jack 10 offsuit. Are you kidding me? So the bright side was I was ahead on the turn. Like I said, I actually was. They actually didn't have a heart. They were just barreling their Jack 10, and they just happened to get there on the river. Kind of sucks, because maybe if the river doesn't come the 8 of clubs and it just comes some random card my opponent checks, I check back, I take it down. So yeah, really a rough spot, but maybe I just wasn't supposed to raise the river. Maybe that's just too strong there, but I mean, in game I liked it, but oh well, I guess sometimes you just outvalue yourself. And for this hand, finally, somebody has actually put in the $20 straddle on here at the Bellagio, and we wake up with another pocket pair. Gets us turning into pocket pair city again. We have pocket 10s, and under the gun comes in with the open for $50. The opponent to the left and under the gun actually calls the $50 open, and being an under the gun +3, roughly middle to slash early position, whatever the hell you want to call it, I decide, you know what, I'm not going to be calling here. I'm going to be putting in the 3-bet squeeze. I make it $150 to go. It does fold all the way back around to both of them, and they actually both put in the call. So it looks like this time around we're going to be going 3 ways in a 3-bet pot to a flop of 7, 4, 9, 2 diamonds. This is a pretty good flop for pocket 10s. I mean, I'm not complaining. One of my opponents that actually did open to $50 is actually pretty short here. So I definitely do want to be playing 4 stacks here with pocket 10s and just hoping that nobody flopped the set, and maybe I can just hold and win this. So my opponent under the gun does put in the check. Other opponent puts in the check. And this time around, I do decide to size up more than I usually do with my pocket 10s. I put out a bet multi-way to $320, and I get my wish. My opponent in under the gun a couple of seconds later announces that he's going to be all in. This is exactly what I wanted, and they actually only go all in for roughly $800 or so. I already put 320 in the middle. It's only 480 more to call. Of course I'm not going to be going anywhere. But this is when the tables turn. My opponent to their left actually goes all in as well for $900. And now I am in the shittiest spot that I could possibly be in. Now, like I said, I can definitely beat one opponent, but can I actually beat two people after one of them just check jammed all in and the other one is all in as well? Do I really have the best hand here? This is such a shitty spot, ladies and gentlemen. So I actually go into the tank. I tank for maybe a minute and a half or so, and I let them know that I have pocket tens, and I usually don't do this, but I let them know I have pocket tens. I even flipped over my cards and I said, yo, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea what to do. So I'm actually thinking about it, and I'm like, yo, this is just such a strong line by my opponents, and I'm really worried about the person that did flat that open having pocket nines. I'm really scared of pocket nines, to be honest. So with that being said, I'm just like going into the tank, and then somebody who's actually a reg there, they called the clock on me. I cannot believe I get the clock called on me. He's not even in the hand. They called the clock. The dealer was like, that's a little bit fast, but they do call the floor person over, and then they start putting in the clock, and I said, how much time do I have? And they say 30 seconds. I'm like, how the hell do I only have 30 seconds? It's only been like a minute and a half, and I haven't even had enough time to make a decision. And the clock starts ticking down, 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 down. And even before they called clock, I was about 80% sure I was going to fold. Like 80% fold, 20% call. I wasn't RNGing it or anything. That just was me in my mind. Like, I just felt like I just felt like I was going to fold that often. It has nothing to do with RNGing, percentage of calling, percentage of folding. It has nothing to do with that this time. I was just leaning that heavy towards fold is the point I'm trying to make. And the clock is ticking down, and with the pressure on, I just say, well, my initial reaction was to fold anyway. And I think, honestly, if I just had another minute or two to think about it, I'm still just going to let it go because this line is just super strong. So with the clock ticking down, I do finally just lay my cards down, and they do let the board run out. And the turn actually comes the jack of clubs, and then the river comes a rubber ducky 2 of diamonds, and the person that checked Jan and went all in actually had king jack of diamonds, and my other opponent mucks. So I actually would have been in really bad shape there. Obviously, if we were just heads up, we probably would have asked them if they wanted to run it twice, see if they wanted what they wanted to do. But yeah, it would have basically almost been a coin flip there with them having 2 overs and a flush draw. So yeah, at the end of the day, I am really happy with my decision. I really do feel like that other person that did muck that got to the river really did have a strong hand, but I ended up never finding out. But yeah, what a shitty spot. Let me know what you think about this one once again in the comments below. I mean, just so many good hands in this session. And if you somehow did like that fold, would appreciate it if you can smash that sub button. And finally, we get to play a hand that's not a pocket pair. I mean, those have been getting me into so much trouble today at the Bellagio. But yeah, we wake up with ace jack offsuit, and once again this time the straddle's going to be on, and it does fold all the way around to me in cutoff, and I'm going to be opening up to $50 with the straddle on. Person to my left in button. Well, you can't be in button, so on button. Yeah, on button. They put in the call, and my opponent in big blind is going to be putting in the call, and of course the straddle, which is getting such good odds. They're going to be coming along with the call too. So we're actually going to be going 4 ways to a flop of 7, 9, ace, 2 clubs. Looking pretty decent here. We do have top pair, which we would assume could be the best kicker, but we have to be careful because somebody could actually already have 2 pair. Somebody can have a set. Somebody can also have ace queen. So we do have to tread a little bit cautiously here. Let's hope nobody does have ace queen, because button can have ace queen and big blind can maybe have ace queen. Sometimes, you know, here shouldn't, but I don't know. Players are weird. Anyway, let's see how this hand is going to play out. So yeah, big blind does put in the check. The straddle puts in the check. And I'm just going to test the water, see where I'm at a little bit. Putting out a small wager here. I just make it $50 to go. My opponent in button actually does fold. And my opponent in big blind puts in a call, and the straddle actually folds. So that's pretty good here. We did weed out a couple of players. So we're actually just going to be going heads up to a turn, and it comes a rubber ducky 2 of clubs. It's not the turn we wanted to see. Big blind is going to have a lot of flushes here. We do have the jack of clubs, but they once again just have a lot of flushes. So my opponent does put in a check, and to pot control, this time I'm not going to be betting. I'm just going to chill a little bit. I decided to put in a check myself. And we go to a river, and it comes the jack of diamonds. Pretty decent river here, but could it be a river that gets me into a lot of trouble? Let's find out. So the good thing about this river is that we actually do now beat some random 2 pairs like ace-9 and ace-7 that big blind can have. And that's probably the only thing about it, because I still don't beat a flush, right? Like 2 pair does not beat a flush. And I see my opponent is actually going to take the initiative here to start to grab chips, and he load out a bet, put it in the middle, and it's $320. It's actually exactly $20 over the pot. So it actually is considered an overbet. I mean, slight overbet, right? They pretty much just bet pot, but it is an overbet. And I actually go into the tank. I go into the tank for like a minute, minute and a half. I even asked my opponent if they have bluffed before, and they confidently said they did one time. And that, like, I didn't even believe it when they said it, because of just how they said it and how they answered. Like, everything about it was just screaming, Brandon, for the love of God, can you find the fold? They don't bluff. And I really felt like this person doesn't bluff, and the fact that they were telling me they were bluffing, it was just like blah 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 blah. But I felt like I had such a great hand to call with. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, even if you have a great hand to call with and it looks good, you just have to trust that they just don't bluff. Like, you just have to trust it. And I do go into the tank, like I said, for another 30 seconds or so, and I end up flicking in the call, and I see the bad news. They have the nut flush ace-5 suited, and I just get so mad at myself. I know that I had a really good hand to call, but for the love of God, they just don't bluff. And you have to be aware of who is gonna bluff at your table and who's not gonna bluff at your table. So I'm really disappointed in myself. Like, I did tank. I even talked to them and got information for me to fold, and I still couldn't find it. So yeah, maybe that's one thing I really need to improve on after talking to somebody, doing a little bit of speech play. Have to get better with my tells in live poker. And once again, they don't bluff. They just fucking don't. And for this hand, we're going to wake up with a lady in our hand. We have Queen 10 of diamonds on the button. No straddle is going to be on, and it is going to fold all the way around to cut off, and they're going to be opening for $30. I decided this time I'm not going to be flatting. We're going to be aggressive here. We're playing a little bit deep. So I'm going to be putting in a 3-bet. I make it $100 to go, and it does fold all the way back around to cut off, and they're going to be putting in a call. So we'll actually be going heads up in this 3-bet pot to a flop of 7, 2 king, 2 spades. Not the best flop for my hand. As you can see, I don't have really much going on. Gonna have to go runner to make a lot of hands. Well, to make any hand, period, at this point. But yeah, with that being said, my opponent does put in a check, and I decide to be aggressive. I am gonna be still c-betting here, being a pre-flop aggressor. I do put out a massive bet of $140, and my opponent says they have a decent hand. They're going to be coming along. They put in a call, and we go to a turn, and it comes the 5 of diamonds, a relative blank unless somehow they decided to float pocket 5s, which I think that they should never be floating pocket 5s here. But I am lucky that it is the diamond variety, because now I do have a flush draw. And my opponent does put in a check, and now the question is here, should I actually just check back, or should I barrel? Check back, barrel. Check back, barrel. Which one do you think I'm going to do? And we're going to say the answer in 3, 2, 1. Yes, we're going to be barreling. We're going for the double barrel, being aggressive in this 3-bet pot. I load up the clip, and I put out a bet of $360, putting massive pressure on my opponent. And they do actually go into the tank. This is not what I wanted. I wanted them to just fold, but it was only a 30-second to 45-second tank. And then eventually my opponent does lay down their cards. We do get one through. Definitely was just pure bluffing there. Well, not pure bluffing. I did have a flush draw to back it up. But yeah, really happy to take this one down. Thank you, my lady in my hand, for helping me out as usual. And I did play a really long session here at the Bellagio, so this is just going to be part one of the session. Currently, at this point, I am down roughly $2,000 to $2,500, but make sure you catch the next video that's going to be coming out in a couple of days on Sunday. And if you've liked this video right here, make sure you check out this one here where I play at the Bellagio, my first session ever, playing some 510. And the question is, did I win or did I lose? Make sure you check it out to find out.